Hello friends, Pastor Casey Taylor from Beulah Church, a United Methodist congregation in Sumner, Illinois, with another message in a minute. I love the story of Samson in the Old Testament. It's a classic of the Bible. It's a story you ought to know. It's found in the book of Judges, which is kind of like the Wild West time of Israel's biblical history. Samson is a guy of great potential and promise. He has so much going for him, and he seems like a larger-than-life character. He's a guy that wrestles a lion barehanded and takes on the enemies of God's people single-handedly. And yet he is also deeply flawed. He seems bound and determined to chase after everything that God has said is off limits. But the incredible thing about Samson's life is that despite his uneven faithfulness to God, God still uses Samson to accomplish God's good purposes for God's people. No matter how flawed he is, God seems determined to do this through Samson. Now, eventually, Samson chases after all of this stuff so far that he eventually hits rock bottom. But when he's there at rock bottom, he cries out to God, he prays and asking for God's help, and God answers his plea. And God does more through him in that moment than he had done his entire life before. God is a God of second chances. The Bible tells us that God is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and rich in steadfast love and faithfulness. I think Samson's story is a story of good news. It's a gospel story. Friend, I don't know where you are in your spiritual life. I don't know if all this Jesus stuff sounds too good to be true. I don't know if you've turned your back on God or walked away from church. But please take encouragement from the story of Samson. There is no rock bottom so low that God cannot save you. There is no rock bottom so low that God cannot take you out of that pit and do something incredible in your life. That is good news, because the God we meet in Jesus Christ is a God rich in mercy. Friends, this has been another Message in a Minute from Beulah Church.